I just got back from New Orleans for the 4th of July weekend. And let me tell you something. New Orleans is not the place you go when you're trying to act like you're above temptation. Because the food, loud. The music, loud. The heat, very disrespectful. And the little voice in your head saying, we should probably stick to the plan. She was fighting for her life. But honestly, this trip made me think about something I've been working through a lot lately. Because I used to treat trips like they were one of two things. Either I was being good, which means I was super strict, overthinking every dollar, trying not to spend too much, trying not to eat too much, trying not to mess up my routine. Or I was being bad, meaning the budget did not exist, the routine did not exist, the goals did not exist, and future me would just have to deal with the consequences whenever I got home. And I'm now realizing that I don't want to be any of those versions anymore. I do not want a life where discipline means I'm constantly restricting myself, but I also don't want a life where joy means I automatically disappear from myself. So in today's video, I want to talk about how I'm learning to travel, enjoy my life, spend money intentionally, eat the food, be present, and still come back to myself. Not perfectly, not in a she has it all figured out way, but in a real way. Because financially fit was never supposed to mean boring. It was supposed to mean free. So let's talk about it. Okay, so before we get into the lessons, let me set the scene. This was a 4th of July trip to New Orleans. And I think trips like this are interesting because they sound super simple on paper. You book the trip, you pack a bag, you go have fun, you come home. But if you're someone who is actively trying to change your life, trying to get better with money, trying to build a fitness routine, trying to stay consistent, trying to become a version of yourself that does not constantly start over, then a trip can feel like this weird test. Suddenly, you're outside of your normal environment. You're not eating your normal food, you're not sleeping in your normal bed, you're not following your normal schedule. And if you're anything like me, your brain can take one weekend away and go, well, I guess my whole identity just clocked out. Like, okay, dramatic. But that really is how it can feel. And I think that's why I wanted to make this video, because I do not want my goals to become so fragile that one trip, one holiday weekend, one dinner out, one missed run, or one full weekend living my actual life makes me feel like I have to start from scratch. I want my routines to support my life, not shrink it. And this trip was a really good reminder of that. The first thing I had to remind myself was that the trip was not the problem. The trip is not the thing that throws me off. The fun is not the thing that throws me off. The food is not the thing that throws me off. The money I spend is not automatically the thing that throws me off. A lot of times what throws me off is the story I tell myself after. Because I have definitely been the girl who gets back from her trip and immediately starts narrating like it's a financial crime documentary. Like,
oh my God, I spent too much. Oh my gosh, I ate too much. Oh my gosh, I didn't work out. Oh my gosh, I didn't do my routine. Oh my gosh, I need to get my life together.
And before I even get a chance to unpack my suitcase, I've already decided that I failed. But this is what I'm learning. Enjoying yourself is not failing. Spending money on something that you planned for is not failing. Eating food that was a part of the experience is not failing. Resting is not failing. Taking a few days to be present with somebody you love, or people you love, or even just with yourself, that's not failing. That is life. And I don't want to become so obsessed with getting better that I forget to actually live inside the life I'm building. Because what is the point of becoming financially fit if I cannot enjoy the money I intentionally set aside? What is the point of building discipline if I use it to punish myself for being human? What is the point of creating a life that I love if I'm never allowed to relax inside of it? So the first shift for me was separating the trip from the spiral. The trip is not the problem. The spiral is the problem. And the spiral usually starts when I come home and decide that everything has to be fixed immediately. But this time, I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to enjoy the trip and then return. That's it. Not overcorrect, not punish, not panic, just return. The second thing that this trip reminded me is that joy needs a line item. And I know that sounds very budget spreadsheet coded, because it is, but truly. One of the reasons trips used to stress me out financially is because I would plan the obvious stuff, hotel, transportation, maybe a big activity, but I would not always plan for the little joy moments. The matcha, the snacks, we're already here meal, the random outfit, the Uber because it was too hot to be brave. And then I would come home acting shocked. Like, how did this happen? Girl, you went outside. That is how it happened. So now I'm trying to be more honest with my money before the trip starts. Not strict, honest. There is a difference. Strict says, I'm not gonna spend anything extra. Honest says, you're absolutely gonna want food, matcha, rides, snacks, a little room for spontaneity. Please stop lying to the spreadsheet. And that is such a big financially fit lesson for me, because budgeting is not about pretending I'm gonna become a completely different person when I leave the house. purpose. Budgeting is about knowing myself well enough to plan for the person I actually am. And I'm a woman who likes a little treat. Let's not pretend we're shocked. But the difference now is I don't want the treat to turn into avoidance. I want to be able to say, this is what I plan for. This is what I can enjoy. This is what I'm choosing on purpose. Because there's a very specific kind of peace that comes from spending money and not feeling like you have to hide from it later. Not because you spent nothing, but because you're honest. And that is what I want more of. I do not want to come home from every fun experience and be scared to open my account. I want to come home and be able to say, okay, that was fun. That was worth it. And then we keep going. That is financially fit to me. Not perfect, not perfection, not never spending, not being the most frugal person in the room. Just being someone who can enjoy her life without abandoning the plan. And if you're watching this and you're also trying to build a healthier relationship with money, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to budget for joy. You are allowed to include fun in the plan. You are allowed to spend money on memories without turning it into shame. The goal is not to make life smaller. The goal is to make your choices more intentional. Okay, third thing. This trip reminded me that routines should be portable. And I don't mean in the sense where I have to take my entire normal routine with me everywhere I go. Because no, I'm not packing my whole life in a carry-on. But I do think there's something powerful about knowing which parts of your routine are flexible and which parts help you feel like yourself. For example, when I travel, I'm probably not going to do my perfect morning routine. I'm probably not waking up at the same time. Probably not eating the same meals. Probably not doing the same workout schedule. And that's okay. But there are little things that help me feel not completely disconnected from myself, like drinking water, going on walks, checking in with my spending, getting enough sleep when I can. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that needs a whole it girl montage. Just little anchors. Because sometimes I think we make consistency to all or nothing. We think that if we can't do the full routine, there's no point in doing anything. But I'm learning that the small version still counts. The travel version still counts. The imperfect version still counts. And honestly, that is the version that builds the most trust. Because anyone can stick to a routine when everything is perfect. The real question is, can I stay connected when the conditions change? Can I still make one good choice when I can't make the perfect choice? Can I still drink some water when I'm not eating my normal meals? Can I still take a walk even when I'm not doing the full workout? Can I still check my account even if the spending's not perfect? Can I still return without making it a whole identity crisis? That is the work. Not being perfect on vacation. Being able to stay in a relationship with yourself while you're still enjoying your life. And I think that matters because I'm not trying to build habits that only work when my schedule is empty. My meals are prepped. My laundry is done. The weather is perfect. My emotions are regulated and no one invites me anywhere. Because what kind of life is that? I need habits that can survive real life. A 12-hour shift, a holiday weekend, a trip, a bad mood, a busy season, a race coming up faster than I expected. Which brings me to the next thing. My July 5K is coming up on the 18th. And I feel like every race has its own little personality. Some races feel exciting, some feel emotional, some feel like a personal test. And some races feel like they look directly in your face and say, okay girl, are we doing this or what? This July 5K feels like that. Because coming out of a holiday weekend and realizing that the race is getting closer, it would be very easy for me to go into panic mode. Like, oh my gosh, I need to run every day. I need to fix everything. I need to become a completely different athlete in 2 weeks. But that is not the move. The move is not panic. The move is not punishment. The move is not trying to cram a whole training cycle into a few days because I enjoyed my weekend. The move is to return to the basics. Get the next run done. Stretch, hydrate, sleep. Do not turn everything into a character flaw. Because this is one of the biggest lessons running keeps teaching me. You do not build confidence by bullying yourself. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself and the ways that you can repeat. And that matters so much to me as a curvy runner. Because I already know what it feels like to walk into fitness spaces and feel like people have already made assumptions about what my body can do. I already know what it feels like to feel like I have to prove that I belong there. But I'm trying not to carry that pressure into every single run. I do not want every training run to feel like an audition. I do not want every race to feel like I'm defending my identity. I want to be able to say, I'm a runner because I run. I am training because I said I would. And I'm showing up because this matters to me. And I do not have to look like anybody else to take myself seriously. So with this July 5K coming up, my goal is to not panic train. My goal is to calmly return, to be honest about what I can do between now and race day, to stop playing in my own face, but also not to be mean to myself. To remember that the race is not asking me to be perfect. It's just asking me to show up. And that is what I plan to do. Also, if you're watching this and you're in your own season of trying to become more consistent with money, with running, with your routines, with just keeping promises to yourself in general, then make sure you subscribe because that is what this channel is really all about. Not becoming perfect, not becoming unrecognizable, just becoming the version of yourself who returns a little faster, trusts herself a little bit more, and stops treating every imperfect week like the whole plan is ruined. So if that's your lane too, go ahead and subscribe. We're becoming her over here, but we're doing it in a realistic way. Okay, back to the video. So now that I am back from the trip, I am very intentionally definitely not doing a dramatic reset. I need to say that out loud because I know the dramatic reset can sometimes feel so productive. You know the one. The Sunday night, I'm gonna change my entire life reset. It's very inspiring, but very unsustainable. And I've done that so many times. I would come back from a trip or a busy weekend and feel like I had to immediately fix everything. And because the list was too big, I would just avoid it completely. So this time, I wanna keep it simple. Unpack the bag, check the account, wash the clothes, plan a few meals, get the next run done, go to bed at a reasonable time. That's it. That's the reset. Boring? Yes. Effective? Mostly yes. Because I'm learning that the most important part of a reset is not about how aesthetic it looks. It is whether or not it helps me return. And sometimes returning is not cute. Sometimes returning is standing in the kitchen, drinking water out of the same cup you've refilled 3 times because you cannot be bothered to get another one. Sometimes returning is opening your banking app with one eye closed, but it still counts. It all counts. And I think that's the message I keep coming back to in this season of my life. The undone version counts. The imperfect return counts. The I'm doing what I can with the energy I have version counts. Because I don't want my discipline to only exist when I feel motivated. I want it to exist in the regular, unglamorous moments. The moments where I'm not inspired. I am just deciding. And that is what this week is. A decision to return. Not because I messed up, but because I'm still going. I think the biggest thing this New Orleans trip reminded me is that discipline should make your life feel bigger, not smaller. And I say that because I think a lot of us learn discipline through restriction. We learned that being disciplined meant saying no to everything. No fun, no spending, no rest, no flexibility, no room for being an actual person. But I don't want that. I want a version of discipline that helps me trust myself. I want to be able to take the trip and not financially spiral. I want to be able to enjoy the food and not turn it into guilt. I want to be able to miss the perfect routine and still come back. I want to be able to train for a race without making every run feel like a punishment. That is the version of discipline I'm interested in. Not the loud version, not the extreme version, not the version that only works when life is quiet, the version that can come with me to New Orleans, to race day, to work, to the grocery store, to a random Tuesday when I'm tired and I don't feel like being responsible. Because becoming financially fit is not just about money, at least not for me. It's about identity. It's about becoming someone who can look at our life honestly, someone who can make a plan and still have room for joy, someone who can spend money without avoiding the truth, someone who can get out of rhythm and not make that mean that she's starting over, someone who can say, I'm allowed to live my life and I'm still responsible about how I come back to it. That is where I am right now. Not perfect, not fully there, but practicing. So coming out of this trip and heading into my July 5K, here's what I'm taking into this week. Number 1, I'm allowed to enjoy my life. That might sound obvious, but sometimes I need the reminder. I'm allowed to have fun. I'm allowed to travel. I'm allowed to eat good food. I'm allowed to make memories. I'm allowed to be a real person with a real life outside of my goals. Number 2, I am still responsible for my return. Not in a harsh way, but in a loving way. I don't need to punish myself back into the routine, but I do need to come back. The budget needs attention. My body needs care. My training needs consistency. My sleep needs to stop being treated like it's a suggestion. And number 3, I do not need a dramatic comeback. I just need a clean return. That is the line for me this week, because the version of me I'm becoming does not disappear every time life gets good. She enjoys it. She learns from it. She comes home, she unpacks the bag, she checks the count, she gets the run done, she keeps going. And honestly, that feels like growth. Not the shiny kind, the real kind. So this is where I am this week. Back from New Orleans, trying to hold on to the joy, trying to return without spiraling, trying to prepare for this July 5K without bullying myself into race mode, trying to build a whole life where discipline and joy can actually exist within the same room. Because I do not want to be financially fit and miserable. I do not want to be consistent and constantly tense. I do not want to be disciplined in a way that makes my life feel smaller. I want the version where I can take the trip, enjoy the food, love the memories, come home, check the account, lace up my shoes, and keep becoming her. So if you're also in a season of learning how to return without starting over, I hope this video reminded you that you're not behind. You're not ruined. You're not starting from zero. You're just returning, and returning counts. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and comment below and tell me, are you good at coming back after a trip? Or are you also 1 weekend away and suddenly everything is out of control type of person? Because I need to know who's in the room with me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.